العلم أشراف مطلوب وطالبه لله أكرام من يمشي على قدمه. العلم نور مبين يستضيء به أهل السعادات والجهال في الظلم.
I'm only asking because we studied something similar to this recently. أحسنت. شروط النكاح, if you remember I mentioned it amongst the fifth one. شروط النكاح are the conditions that are required as a basic necessity in order to get married. A wali and so on. A wali and both people are happy with the marriage and so on. طيب, that is the شروط النكاح. As for شروط في النكاح, the conditions of the nikah, they are conditions that both individuals, the husband and the wife, can set out. طبعا before the contract is done, they can set out. And when they set them out, they have to abide by them. نعم, it was قواعد الفقهية that we studied it in. And when we were talking about the conditions, it's good to know that you all revised, mashallah. And شروط النكاح, شروط في النكاح. And مثلا we talked about, for example, and the Shaykh will mention it, like, can a sister say, I put a condition on you that you can't get married again, you can't get married to a second wife? Is that a condition من شروط النكاح أو شرط في النكاح؟ أحسنتم, شرط في النكاح.
Last time you didn't mention it, like شروط النكاح, شروط في النكاح. You mentioned that the only one of her, so put in that condition that.
لا, go back to the recorder, I must have mentioned it. I must have even mentioned بيع, شروط البيع والشروط في البيع. Yeah, نعم, شروط في النكاح. So we'll talk about those and what sort of conditions are allowed for the person to place. So some conditions are permissible, but then there are some conditions that are not permissible. For example, if someone says, I'll get married to you, like, from the conditions is that you can never ever be alone with me or come to me. Or, how do I know? But that's a haram shart, obviously. Or, no. Also, some of the correct shurud is that if a woman says, I'll get married to you, like, I don't want to leave my land, or I don't want to go to such and such land, and so on. So there are conditions that need to be known. And it's extremely important, because some brothers might say, not that you're saying it, but some brothers might say, nah, I'm going to agree to that shirk nikah, that I'm not going to get married, like, later on, I'm going to do it. And it's easier said than done, because later on she can do fasakh, not even talaq. She doesn't require talaq from you. She can just go to a mahkam and get fasakh, as long as that shart is affirmed in the aqd, and as long as she can affirm that you got married, then she can ask for. It's up to her, basically. So it's easier than just agreeing to it. Also, from the things that the Shaykh will mention is al-uyub fi nikah. There are certain things, certain deficiencies that allow a person to get talaq or fasakh, where it's just the aqd is nullified, the contract is nullified, it's not a divorce. So, for example, if just a simple example, if a person has an illness, a long-term illness, and they don't tell a person, and then later on they find out. Now, I'm not talking about diabetes or anything like that. I'm talking about illnesses like HIV, for example, AIDS. If a person has that, like, and they don't tell their partner, but luckily the partner finds out before intercourse, then that is a aib in the person. And they are allowed to, if it's a woman, they allow, both of them actually, it's a fasakh. It doesn't come under at-talaq. So that is some of the things that will be mentioned in al-uyub. Also, from the things that the Shaykh will mention, rahmatullahi alayhi, is as-sadaq, the meher. How much can it be? Has it got a limit? When does it have to be paid by? Can they decrease the meher after agreeing? So on. And then also, last but not least, ishrat al-nisa. living with women in peace and harmony. Not only women, like in the two spouses living together, and what is expected from both, the rights of each. And from some of the issues that we'll talk about is it wajib for the woman, for the wife to serve her husband? مثلا ironing the clothes, washing the clothes, is it wajib upon her or not, and so on. And then we look at the hadith of Zar', inshallah, when we get to that point, if we get to that point. The hadith of Zar', that is a great hadith which I recommend that you read. It's a hadith of 11 women that came to Aisha radiallahu anha, and they each asked her, or 11 women, they gathered along Aisha, and they all agreed to talk about or mention some of the characteristics of their husbands. 11 women got together, and they each mentioned something about her husband or their husbands. Some said good things about them, positive things. Some said negative things. And then there was obviously the last lady who mentioned Abu Zar'. And the hadith has been, and he called Abu Zar' because he had, not the mahallu shahid, like in the largest portion or largest part of the hadith was talking about him. And then the Messenger ﷺ said to Aisha, I am to you like Abu Zar' was to Zar'. So that hadith is very important for a person to understand and to look at the different explanations that the scholars have given to this hadith even before they get married. Even before they get married. Because it kind of like gives you an idea of what to expect and what not to be. So for example, these women that mentioned something evil about their husbands, when you listen to these things, you will avoid being like them. And when you listen to the women who praise their husbands, you listen to, or you'll try to do exactly what they did or more in order to please their wives or your wife. And likewise on the other side as well, sisters as well. Because when the two people live together, as we said, they are closer to everyone than anyone else. They are closer to one another than anyone else is to any of them. So مثلا if you've got friends that are, that spoil your mood, you just start hanging around with them. If you're working with a few people who you don't like, you just try to avoid them. Don't go in the staff room when they're in there. If you study with people who are evil, or just people who are just losers, you try avoiding them. Like if your wife or your husband is that, it's difficult. Your life becomes Jahannam. Your life can become Jahannam. So, inshallah, that hadith is munasib for the end of the chapter when the Shaykh talks about Ashrat al-Nisa. قال الشيخ, everyone's got the book, صح? طبعا we've been studying this book for a year. I don't need to ask if everyone's got a book. Everyone's got a book, صح? طيب إن شاء الله. قال الشيخ عبد الرحمن بن ناصر السعدي رحمة الله عليه رحمة واسعة: كتاب النكاح وهو من سنن المرسلين. وفي الحديث: يا معشر الشباب من استطاع منكم الباءة فليتزوج فإنه أغض للبصر وأحصن للفرج ومن لم يستطع فعليه بالصوم فإنه له وجاء. متفق عليه. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: تنكح المرأة لأربع: لمالها ولحسبها وجمالها ولدينها فاظفر بذات الدين تربت يداك. متفق عليه. طيب, the Shaykh starts off with Kitab al-Nikah. And Kitab, we've already studied the meaning of it. Kitab is a book which gathers different abwab. So we have a Kitab and then we have Bab. So this Kitab, you will find in it different abwab. And under each Bab, under each chapter, you will find different masail. Who can give me an example from Kitab? باب المسائل.
كتاب الصلاة.
كتاب الصلاة.
باب شروط الصلاة.
باب شروط الصلاة.
مسائل. هل شروط الصلاة هم شروط الصلاة هل القبلة
القبلة صح. So you're talking about the bab, the kitab is kitab al-salah, the chapter is shurud al-salah. And from the shurud of the salah is the masail, which is what? Istiqbal al-Kaaba. The Shaykh rahmatullahi alayhi says, النكاح. طبعا النكاح لغة in linguistic means الجمع بين الشيئين, to bring two things together. To bring two things together. And when we look at the Sharia, it has two meanings, al-wad and al-nikah or al-aqd. So nikah has two meanings, al-aqd, the aqd of the contract, and wad, jima' or intercourse. So for example, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says فَإِن طَلَّقَهَا فَلَا تَحِلُّ لَهُ مِن بَعْدُ حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the man who divorces his wife 3 times, فَإِن طَلَّقَهَا فَلَا تَحِلُّ لَهُ, it's not permissible for her to marry her min ba'd, after he has divorced her the 3rd time, حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ, until she gets married again. Like in the nikah that is mentioned in this verse is relating to intercourse. There was a Sahabi, 2 of the Sahabas got, a situation happened to in the time of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where a man divorced his wife 3 times, and then she got married to someone else, and then wanted to divorce. Lakin the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La hatta tazuqi usaylata," or kama qala sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Lakin the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam prevented her from doing so up until after they get married and after they have intercourse. And that's a masala we'll look at inshallah, which talks about the muhallil and the muhallal lah. The muhallil is someone who, when a man divorces his wife 3 times, he's not allowed to get married to her again, sah? So what some people do is they use a muhallil, and they get someone to get married to their wife, wal-iyadhu billah, and then do a nikah and so on, and then that individual divorces the wife. And then what is that? What happens after that? She gets married to her previous husband. So طبعا, as you know, if a man divorces a woman 3 times, it's haram for him to get married to her again until she gets married to another man. Not a marriage that is set up, like in a marriage that she genuinely wants to get married to him and he wants to genuinely get married to her, and then he divorces her due to them having a rift or whatever, and then obviously she's allowed to get married to the first one. Like if a man regrets the fact that he's divorced his wife 3 times and he wants to get married again, he wants to marry her again, what some people do is they get someone called a muhallil. And in some countries there's like a certain individual who's known as the muhallil. It's stud, it can be called the stud there. So he's like the muhallil, the local muhallil, who in some countries I've had in some countries they have a certain individual. So a friend of mine told me of an individual who was known in the village that he was the muhallil. So anytime anything would happen, he would be called to do the to do the muhallil, in other places as well. So he was telling me in one incident, he was a tablighi as well, but so in one incident what happened was he got married to the woman. Obviously a man divorced his wife 3 times. That man went and called the muhallil, the local muhallil, and then the man got married to her. Lakin she must have been beautiful or something, because he refused to divorce her. The muhallil refused to divorce her. And then qamat dunya, a lot of fitan happened between them, and there was fights and war escalated and so on. The next meaning for nikah in the Sharia is aqd, the actual contract. يا أيها الذين آمنوا, based on the verse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نكحتم المؤمنات ثم طلقتموهن من قبل أن تمسوهن. So in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you who believe, إذا نكحتم المؤمنات, if you marry the mu'minat, the believing women, يعني do the nikah, ثم طلقتموهن, then you divorce them, من قبل أن تمسوهن, before you touch them. Before you touch them. So in this verse, what does nikah mean? كيف intercourse? قبل أن تمسوهن, before you touch them. لا, طلاق, we haven't reached طلاق, we're on kitab al-nikah. إذا نكحتم المؤمنات. What we're talking about now is the meaning of nikah in the Sharia. Has two meanings. The first being الجماع, صح? The first حتى تنكح زوجا غيره, the محلل and so on. What was the second meaning? Al-aqd, just the contract. The contract that takes place between the man and the wife, the husband and the wife. طيب. إذا نكحتم المؤمنات. إذا نكحتم المؤمنات. So nakah here is the aqd. What is the dalil? At the end of the verse, Allah says, من قبل أن تمسوهن. So Allah says, before you touch them. طبعا if you don't touch them, that means you haven't had intercourse. So it can't mean the first meaning of nikah. It means what? Al-aqd. Also, if we look into the Quran and the Sunnah, we find that nikah in the Quran and the Sunnah is between what? Between a man and a woman. Between a man and a woman. It may be, obviously, what else could it be? Lakin, it may sound simple, lakin, there's a mas'ala which is really important that we have to be aware of nowadays, which is what they call civil marriages. هذا غير معروف في الإسلام. That is not known in Islam, and it is not permissible, and it is haram in al-Islam. It is haram in al-Islam. A man cannot marry a woman, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, and a woman cannot marry a woman, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Huh? Huh? I thought someone was going to bring an argument about it. It's permissible. طيب. So it's not permissible for a man to get married to a man in Islam and a woman to get married to a woman in Islam. Is haram. And anyone that does that can fall into kufr. And there's a really important masala that we all need to understand, especially living in this day and age in this country. There's a difference between a person committing a ma'siyah and a person who makes the ma'siyah halal. For the person, mathalan, if a person drinks alcohol every single day of their lives, you never see him sober, always drunk. Like when you tell him to fear Allah, he says, make dua for me, the shaitan has got the better of me, and so on. Make dua for me. And he knows he's sinning. That individual has fallen into a major sin, and he's a Muslim, and we make dua for him, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps him to get out of this bala. Lakin if we find a person who has never touched alcohol, doesn't drink طبعا, lakin says that alcohol is halal, that person has fallen into kufr and disbelief. That person has fallen into kufr and disbelief. He has apostated from left the religion of Allah. Why? Because he has disbelieved in the kitab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the Quran and in the Sunnah, in so many verses and ahadith. We find that alcohol is haram. فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ, in many ayat and ahadith. So Allah Jalla wa Ala says that it is haram. So if a person says no, it is haram, that person has challenged Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his uluhiyyah and his rububiyyah, and he has fallen into kufr al-istihlal. Kufr al-istihlal. So going back to these people who are involved in that wal-'iyadhu billah act, if they do it, then they can still be a Muslim. It doesn't take them out of the fold of Islam. It is a major sin. Lakin the moment they go to marriage, civil marriage or whatever they call it, starts as a civil marriage, and they call it a marriage, they have fallen into kufr. They have fallen into kufr. And that is something that we have to all be aware of. The Shaykh rahmatullahi alayhi says, وَهُوَ مِن سُنَنِ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. It is the sunnah of the mursaleen, the sunnah of the anbiya. As we said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلًا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَذُرِّيَّةً. And we also find that the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam rebuked the companions, or those individuals, those companions who said, for me, I will never get married. Why? So that why was he saying, this companion, I will never get married? So he can be what? Free for the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he can be free for the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's called tabattul. And the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam prohibited from that. Prohibited from a person from saying, I'm going to just worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I'm not going to get married. That is haram. And that is what the Nasara do. Also, there's a mas'ala that is usually asked, or the students usually ask the scholars, which is, which one do we give precedence to? Talab al-ilm or getting married? Lakin the answer is, there's no contradiction between any of them. And from the usul of Ahl Sunnah is what? Al-jam'. Na'am. Also, from the qawaid, لا يصار إلى الترجيح إذا أمكن الجمع. You don't try doing tarjih of different nusus or different things unless you can't combine them. If you can't combine them, then you say this is rajih and this. Lakin a student can combine marriage and seeking knowledge. Rather, Shaykh Abdul Muhsin Abad Hafidahullah says that marriage will help him in seeking knowledge. Marriage will help him in seeking knowledge. If the two people are students of knowledge, then they will help each other in seeking knowledge and encourage each other to attend classes, and they'll attend classes together. So it is not a way, or it's not a reason to stay away from it's not a reason to stay away from marriage and seeking knowledge. Some of the scholars mention masail such as, which is better, al-nikah or other ibadat? Or other ibadat. Some of the scholars say that it is better than other ibadat. Why? Because the benefit is muta'addin. It crosses over to someone else, and to yourself, and also to someone else. Whereas with ibadat, for example, if a person prays qiyamul layl, then it is specific to him. Like if a person gets married, then the benefit goes to another person as well. Also, if it was better to leave off marriage, then the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companions would have left off marriage. Like in the fact that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companions married shows that it is better than leaving out marriage for reasons for ibadah. Na'am. We'll stop there inshallah and we'll continue from this point next week. Wabillahi tawfiq.